Welcome to the College Football Prop Show presented by LineStar. I'm Shannon Sommerville with your top college football player prop bets for week 9. This season is flying by. Now we're in October. I feel like this is the best time of year. We've got college football in the mix. We've got the World Series. I'm rocking my Yankees shirt, my Aaron Judge jersey, if you will. And we've also got basketball that just started up. We got NHL. I mean, it's all popping right now. Monday is the sports equinox. So I'm really excited about our college football slate ahead. Georgia is on a bye week, thankfully, because my nerves need a little break. From week to week, the Bulldogs always had me on the edge of my seat, including last week against Texas. The result for the Bulldogs was a good one, though, last week. However, not for our props. We were 2-2 in our picks last week. Where we were right was Xavier Restrepo over 86.5 receiving yards. He finished with 101, and Theo Wees for the Mizzou Tigers over 50.5 receiving yards. He finished with 56. But Cam Ward, that was a tough one because he was stuck at 319 passing yards for the last 5 minutes of the game as Miami was just trying to drain the clock at the end. So we didn't get over the 324.5 mark that we needed. And then Isaiah Bond for Texas. I've never been so happy to be so wrong about a prop, but he did not go over 49.5 receiving yards. The Georgia defense was stifling against Texas, but we've got some great picks for you for week 9, and we're going to start things off with one of the highest game totals of the slate this week, and that is Texas Tech, the Red Raiders going up against TCU and the Horned Frogs. Texas Tech wide receiver Josh Kelly is the play here for us. We're going over on 76.5 receiving yards. LineStar's projection, 84.6. The consensus projection, which remember, that's basically an average of all of the other industry leaders and their projections. That's also at 88.9. We just really like the game environment and the high total here. Plus, Kelly's been over this mark in 4 of 7 games this year. Now, TCU does have a pretty good pass defense. They're second in the Big 12, limiting teams to just under 162 pass yards per game. But Kelly has faced good passing defenses this year. Consider that he had 76 against Baylor, 89 against ASU. Both teams are in the top 50 in the country in passing yards allowed. And this is a 6'1", 6-year senior. So he's got plenty of experience. He transferred from Fresno State to Washington State, then finally here to Texas Tech, averaging 84 receiving yards per game. And he's been called by coaches one of the most well-rounded outside receivers for Texas Tech since Michael Crabtree. Remember that name? He was drafted by the 49ers in the first round back in 2009, had a nice NFL career. Now, I fully understand everyone that's looking at this that probably wants to take Taj Brooks to go over 126 rushing yards. The Red Raiders offense, yes, is predicated on their run game and Brooks specifically. 126 rush yards, that's pretty high, but LineStar does like the over on that at 131 is our projection there. So I don't mind if you take that. For me, considering the game script that we might see here, the Red Raiders as 6.5 road underdogs in a game with a total of 66.5, I think it might be a little bit of a passing game script, which is why I feel more comfortable taking a Texas Tech wide receiver here. I think if you are TCU, you're going to really try to focus in on stopping Brooks and challenging them to pass it. So that's kind of why I'm leaning on Josh Kelly here to go over that 76.5 mark. I think both things can happen, though. I think you can have Taj Brooks go over and Kelly go over. But for our purposes here on our show, I'm just rolling with Josh Kelly over 76.5 receiving yards. Next up, we're going to another pretty talented wide receiver, Mizzou wide receiver Luther Burden, who is an NFL prospect, a big week going up against Alabama. However, I'm taking Burden under 59.5 receiving yards. LineStar's projection is with me here, 53.5 for Burden. While he's averaging 64 receiving yards per game, he's only been over that 59.5 mark in 3 of 7 games. And last season, we saw so many games where he was just surpassing 100 receiving yards, but that really just hasn't been the case this year. Only one game has he surpassed 100 receiving yards when he had 6 last year. They've also used him more in kind of different scenarios. They've used him in the run game, which of course detracts from the receiving yards total. And another huge factor in this one that I haven't even gotten to yet, Mizzou could be without their star quarterback in this one. Quarterback Brady Cook listed as doubtful after suffering an ankle injury in the Auburn game last week. Regardless of whether Cook plays, I think this Alabama team is in a bounce back spot at home in Tuscaloosa. Alabama 9th in the SEC in passing yards per game. But they have faced some pretty good quarterbacks and good offenses, and they still rank in the top 50 in the country in passing yards allowed. Alabama is 18-point favorites, so yeah, there's the concern of a game script that favors Mizzou passing and maybe Bama running. However, I just really like the under here on Luther Burden. After watching it, it almost seems like a safer route if you are going with that game script where Mizzou is going to be passing a lot to keep up with Alabama. I would rather go to Theo Weiss like we did last week, over 45.5. It's actually less than what we got it at last week. So I don't mind going there as opposed to Luther Burden. And then on the flip side, if you'd like another bet, Bama running back Jam Miller over 47.5 rushing yards was one I was also considering. But for our purposes in this game, we're going to actually fade Luther Burden here, under 59.5 receiving yards. Next up, we're going to one of the most explosive running backs in the country, UNC's running back Omarion Hampton, over 103.5 rushing yards. Hampton is projected for 110 according to LineStar. He's been over that 103.5 mark in 5 of 7 games, and he's averaging 129 rush yards per game. This week going up against Virginia, a team that ranks 9th, so middle of the road in the ACC in terms of that rush defense. He did have 112 against them just last year. And in a game where the total is pushing 60, so that's a pretty high scoring total. I think the ACC's lead rusher, which is Hampton, just dominates in this one. Virginia has only allowed one player to surpass 100 rush yards this season, but I think it'll be 2 after Hampton finishes his day in Charlottesville because he's very strong, fast, patient. And the other thing that I like here is that UNC plays fast. They're 10th in plays per game. Virginia, on the flip side, also pretty fast. They're 25th. So I like the pace that we're getting here. So I'm comfortable taking the over on that big hefty number of 103.5. But for a guy like Hampton, who last season was recognized for leading the country in yards after contact, I think we could see some angry runs from the ACC's lead rusher. So we're going Hampton over 103.5 rush yards. To another ACC showdown, Georgia Tech taking on Virginia Tech. We're going to Georgia Tech's junior running back Jamal Haynes over 52.5 rushing yards. LineStar's projection is 64.2 for Haynes this week. This is a guy who's 9th in the ACC in rushing yards this year. And a big scenario here that we're looking at is Georgia Tech's quarterback Haynes King is listed as questionable, supposedly dealing with a right shoulder injury. He didn't play last week against Notre Dame, and that hurt him a lot. It'll be up to sophomore Zach Pyron if he's indeed out in this one, who threw 2 interceptions last week against Notre Dame in King's absence. So if King is out, the way I view it is the game plan should just be to pound the rock against a very poor rush defense to try to limit any big mistakes from Pyron and just get the offense on track. I think it'll be up to Haynes to do that. And when you look at Virginia Tech, they have a very poor rushing defense. 6 of 7 opposing RB1s have racked up 60 rush yards or more against the Hokies. Virginia Tech ranks 16th in rush defense in the ACC. I think this is a great spot for Jamal Haynes. So we're going over on 52.5 rushing yards. Those are our 4 picks for week 9 in college football. Let me know what you think in the comments. A comment enters you into our prop bets contest. If we go 4 for 4 this week, one randomly selected commenter will win $60. I'll announce that on next week's show, but you got to be in it to win it. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. And just to recap and give you a rundown of our picks this week, this is a look at our entry on Underdog. Josh Kelly over 76.5 receiving yards, Burden under 59.5 receiving yards, Omarion Hampton over 103.5 rushing yards, and Jamal Haynes over 52.5 rushing yards. Also, if you've got any locks, drop them in the comments. We're all trying to help each other out and beat the books. Hey, I've got to go out this weekend and buy some Halloween candy for trick-or-treaters. And yeah, I got to win some money for that because the prices of Halloween candy are crazy. If you watched my NFL prop show as well, I was complaining to my co-host Tyler about the cost of Halloween candy lately. I saw on Target or something, it was like $25 for a bag of like 200 tiny little pieces. I was like, man, I got to win some bets here. So good luck. And otherwise, all the trick-or-treaters are going to be getting Smarties, the gross candy. in my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. What's the popular candy that everyone's going to want this year? It's probably always Reese's. I feel like that's the popular one. Anyways, let me know in the comments if you've got any locks. Good luck in all of your sports betting endeavors for this weekend. We've got a big week ahead. NFL, MLB, all the big sports are back. Monday is the sports equinox. I'll try to put together a sports equinox parlay, including all the 4 major sports. So that's what you got to look forward to on the LineStar YouTube channel. Again, if you aren't already subscribed to the LineStar YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Sign up for notifications as well. A lot of times the lines move around a lot. So we want you guys to be able to hop on these bets right when we come out with them. Good luck this weekend. We'll see you guys next time.